I'm Mauri from Los Retros, and all eyes are on me because I just so happen to have the opportunity to be here.
You got to be mine. I've been waiting for your call. You don't seem into me, but I choose you overall. La, 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 you got to be mine. You got to be mine. You got to be mine. You gotta be mine.
So the band originally started maybe about almost 3 years ago, maybe 2 years and a half. We were first called Retrospect, but couldn't keep that name for so long because we would have been sued if we did. So I thought of, hey, let's keep retro in there. And then one day I was live on Instagram and somebody mentioned Los Retros, which made me remember the times that my mother would listen to a lot of bands with Los, meaning the in Spanish. And a lot of those bands were like Los Freddys, Los Terricolas, and Los Angeles Negros. So I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe it'll be kind of like a remembrance of my past, what my parents used to play, which I didn't really care for at the time, but now I tend to listen to them a lot. Growing up in Oxnard, I was born in Ventura, and then I lived in Oxnard for like 2 years. Moved out, lived in Hueneme, which is Port Hueneme, for not too long, maybe like 11 years, and I moved back to Oxnard. Growing up as a kid, I listened to a lot of random stuff, a lot of stuff that my brothers would play, and I'd pick up on that. But I knew there was more to that, obviously, because I listened to hip hop samples and I got into the samples themselves, and I would want to listen to, the originals, because I knew there was an original. I knew there was people playing the instruments, But one thing that stuck to my mind was what my parents would play, which was like Spanish rock from like the 70s. And now I just so happened to really like those tunes and realize, I guess my maturity somehow kicked in, and now I tend to make tunes just like those. To grow as a musician, I guess it all really, number one, depends on what you want out of it. If you want fame, if you want a better financial status, or you're just simply doing it because you like doing it. That's what I'm doing. I guess that'd be the first question you'd want to tell yourself. And then secondly, if you can't do it on your own, you don't have enough knowledge to become something, I guess ask those who do know. And if you can't, I'd say, we have the internet to this day, and it's pretty easy, to figure out how to take that second step. And then thirdly, I'd say, don't get full of yourself. I say definitely respect what you do for what you do, and do it for you. A lot of the ideas for the Retrospect album were about my wife, who's sitting there right now. Most of the songs are all about her. Has a lot to do with what, before we became together, before we became a thing, before we got, engaged. I guess there was a point in time where I felt like I was lonely, no one cares. I'm just make songs about it, and hopefully someone will listen and I'll go big. That's kind of what my first idea was. But I started learning along the ways, it's really more about, using my emotions and feelings to become something better. As a matter of fact, it was more of a lesson to me. And a lot of the songs are basically for people to listen to who might have gone through the same thing that I did. Hopefully will become something much better and feel better about, the sad times in their lives, and know that there's a lot of potential. There's plenty of potential. I know for a fact. The last song, Last Day on Earth, doesn't necessarily mean to scare people that there's a last day on Earth and there's some conspiracy behind it. It's more about being happy, no matter how bad things may be, even if it's the last day on Earth. If people are suffering, be kind to one another, be nice, have respect for yourself and for everyone else, and just have a great time, I think. There's a new album coming out. Well, if hopefully it comes out. If hopefully my label's like, yeah, it's a go. Happy Hour, that's what the album's called. It's a funk album, jazz album. Strongly inspired and from the 70s. A lot of the funk stuff that was coming out in that time definitely needs to come back. Show kids that, in these days, that a lot of the stuff we listen to is actually a descendant from a lot of stuff way before we were even born. And there's a lot more music to listen to. I'm Mauri from Los Retros, and you are tuned in to Ones to Watch.